Well, actually, this is as real as it gets.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
You're listening to UCW Radio.
In your face.
Give it to me, baby.
All right, welcome to the UCW Radio Show. As you guys know, we always have awesome guests on this show. Today's no different. This girl, her artwork, her talent is off the charts. I love the work she does. I love what she's doing. She's coming straight to us from Australia. Let me join me in welcoming Danielle Weber to the show. Danielle,
hey.
How are you?
Hey, so good. How are you?
Good. We finally got this together. We had a couple of glitches, but we're here. And I'm so happy to have you on the show because I've been admiring your work for some time. The stuff that you do is amazing. You know, I know you go on other shows, you talk about your background and everything, and we're going to go into that. It's just that you're the work that I've seen from you doing The Rock, and now you have Elvis behind you. You have the hip hop artists. You've been featured in magazines, TV, all over the place, and you're also involved in fitness. So it's you're like the total package of just an awesome person. So tell us something. Tell us about you a little bit, and I want to talk about the work that you're doing and what you have going on.
Firstly, thank you. What a wrap. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show too.
Sure.
Look, I'm 28-year-old artist, well, nearly 28, and I live in Melbourne, Australia. I've lived and breathed art since I was a young child, and I guess I sort of evolved from like an artist just working on canvases to now working on massive, large-scale murals. So, my work sort of it's anywhere from portraits to landscapes to abstracts, so very versatile. But of course, my main focus is, telling stories through my work and honouring people who are here and who have moved on from this world. So, it's quite interesting.
and how is it you went from doing smaller portraits to doing these big scale jobs? That's a big transition.
Yeah, it is huge. And I was incredibly hesitant when I first started getting asked to paint people's walls in brand new homes and newly renovated homes. So
Right.
It's a bit daunting because, in your studio there's room for error, whereas when you're on someone else's property and working on their dream home, there's a little bit more pressure involved. So look, it was, it's like anything, you pretty much just have to learn on the job and learn as you go, and take on the pressure and take on the work as it comes. So that's the best way to learn, I feel.
And when you're doing these big jobs, just so that the viewers and listeners could really get a handle on what you do, when you're doing this, you're talking about a 20-foot, 30-foot wall, and you're standing back and you're looking at it. What goes through your mind at that moment? There has to be something like I would think like, holy crap, I don't know if I can do this. But
Well, it's funny you say that because, I think everyone thinks that it's a breeze because I generally just show the finished product or near completion.
Right.
So, but most, I'd say like 9 out of 10 big jobs that I do, whether it's just at the beginning or before I start, I think, why am I doing this to myself? So, generally I do step back and I'm like, oh, crap, this is not going to be fun. So, I mean, I don't know meters. We're in meters and feet. So we probably have to convert. The last one that I did was like 400 square meters of wall, which was just
that's pretty
insanely
huge.
big, and I managed to knock it out in 2 weeks. So.
And 2 weeks, all by yourself doing this.
Yeah, well, I was lucky to have a few assistants on board, but for the most part, like it's I guess I have like the creative direction, and I take most of the responsibility on myself. So,
okay.
So I think I did like 90 hours in the first week.
Oh wow!
And
people complain about working 80-hour work weeks.
I know, when friends are like, "Oh, but I got to start at like 8 and I finish at 5." I'm like, don't bark up my tree. That's wrong.
Exactly. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Take it easy.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this now, Of course, when you're mapping it out, you probably have a sketch, or maybe mentally you have a sketch. But when you do it, you know how. I mean, there has to be a certain process that goes through your mind at that moment when you're really mapping it out. Beyond it being a big project, there has to be something simple that goes in your mind to help you to figure it all out before it gets done. Like it's done before it's done.
Yeah, I actually say, it's funny you say that. I actually say the preparation work and the planning generally takes twice as long or 3 times as long as the actual painting itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I think, as long as you get that right and you don't just jump straight into it, which a lot of us do with everything in life, we just go head first into it.
Yeah.
I think, then the actual painting itself is quite easy. But yeah, there's something called a scribble grid, or sometimes, I mean, you can use technology where you can, and I use projectors sometimes, but for the most part, I use a scribble grid and scale up that way, which is basically you're mapping the whole wall out.
So piece by piece, putting it together.
It's just like a big puzzle. If I really had to go into it, we'd probably be here for a while. But yeah, it's, when I sort of explain it to people, they still don't understand. But if you saw it visually, I think you'd understand how it sort of comes together. So
it's just like a puzzle. And I'll explain it so everyone can understand this. You have a rectangle, you have little boxes, piece by piece, you go and do it, right? And piece by piece, pretty much. Yeah, I said I simplified everything so people won't have to go crazy. But,
thank you. I'm coming to you next time when someone wants that explained.
You send them to me. We'll get them done in 5 seconds. So now, I mean, let's talk about some of the projects you've done. As I mentioned, you got DJ behind you, got Elvis, but you've done other pieces of work that I've seen that impressed me, and that's why I wanted you on the show, because, I mean, it's just the talent that you have just took me, and I said, wow, because I've had other artists on the show. And I said, I got to bring you on the show because I need you to tell your story and just talk about the work that you're doing. So I want you to talk about the work that you've done so far.
Yeah. So I guess I've had some pretty incredible experiences, which has helped, I guess, fast track my career. Some standout pieces that I've done, of course, of Dwayne Johnson, and I did a piece of him and his mum and was able to meet him and deliver it to him back in 2015. The Yankees, relevant. New York Yankees. So I did a piece for CC, and I guess that was a gift from the team for his for finishing up an incredible career. So and also I've painted a lot of music artists and sort of had some recognition from them. And I guess there's heaps of people. There's not a lot of people that I haven't painted. Well, I haven't painted Elvis, and wrong way, Elvis. But and I thought that there's definitely a lot of people on my list. But just always different, the work that I'm doing.
You've done Queen
as well.
You've done Queen.
Yes, Queen. That was a massive mural that I'd done, and that was quite a special piece to me, I guess, because they were breaking down a lot of barriers at the start of their career, and it sort of resonates with where I've been and where I am now and where I want to be as well. So, so I guess it's because people are like, why do you paint these people? And I'm like, well, the stories that they have and how they've defied the odds and how they've overcome so many barriers. I like I guess keeping that alive through my art and honoring incredible humans.
Well, that's what you do when people pass. When you stop speaking about them, you stop drawing them or putting them in some sort of art, they kind of disappear. So you're keeping them relevant. You're keeping them alive with your work.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed. Yeah.
And I think that is very cool. Now, you've done you've done Tupac, you've done Biggie Smalls, you've done some of these artists. Now, when doing that, what came across your mind to say, hey, you know what, I want to do Tupac, I want to do this, I want to do this? Is this something you get a feeling, or I mean, these aren't commissioned jobs, so when you're doing them, it's like something inspires you to do it.
Yeah, I think back when I first started painting, there were a few clients who triggered me learning more about hip hop and rap and music culture. So I didn't actually know a lot about, I guess, Pac and Biggie, and there's a lot of other artists that I've sort of come across, and I'm like, wow, their stories are incredible. So the more I got to learn about them and the more I got to, you know, listen and read about their stories and, you know, read about what they've done for their families and how their legacy lives on, that's where I sort of get inspired to paint them, I guess. And I might find images and I'm like, wow, like, you know, I can imagine how that looks as a photo, you know, and they say a picture and a painting tells 1,000 words. So
Sure.
that's sort of what triggers it for me to then go ahead and paint.
And
Paint, yeah.
Yeah, and you have artists that they paint, or you have people that draw and stuff like that, or artists that draw. I think it's a completely different story when you're absorbing the story, and then that's resonating in the work that you do. And this is the stuff that you're doing, because it's not just like painting something of Elvis or doing anything like this or creating a piece of artwork. It's coming from the story that you learn, and it kind of comes out of you onto the whatever canvas that may be, a 50-foot wall or a 12 by 12 book.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the thing, like I'm, you know, sometimes people come to me and they, you know, perhaps give me an idea. And if it doesn't resonate with me, if I feel like I can't actually communicate what they want me to on canvas, then I simply say, you know, I don't think I'm the person for you. So there have been jobs where I don't take on because, you know, and they could be like maybe religious orientated or something like that. And I'm like, you know what, I'm not that I'm not willing to learn, but I feel like I'm not the right person to, you know, to tell that story for you. So
that's honorable, you know, because you have artists out there that are starving artists, and they'll take on whatever gig they can take on so they can make money. You're with what you're doing, you know, you're turning down paid assignments to say, hey, you know what, I won't make what you want me to make, so better for me not to do it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that's where people need to, you know, I have obviously been at that stage where I just took on anything and everything to, you know, better my craft and learn how to paint essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, so there will probably be, you know, but in saying that, like I wasn't charging for that. So I think when you get to a point where you are charging for your work and people are investing in your work, you know, if your heart's not 100% in it, just don't do it. So.
Yeah, of course, but you know, some people, they do whatever they need. They do whatever they need to do to make ends meet. But I believe that with art, it has to represent, like you leave a little piece of your soul on every piece of work that you do. That's the way I see it.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Know? And you see it. You see it. I mean, I'm just a fan of art. I love going to the Met, the MoMA, everything else, and I love this stuff, the Louvre, whatever. The bottom line is when you see this work, you can, like your work, you can stand in front of it, continue to look, and kind of really dive into it. And I think that's the effect that you're trying to get.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think, you know, like actually, because everyone always asks, like, do you go to museums and art galleries and do you just stand there for hours? And I said, I wasn't really interested up until sort of like the last few years. So I think with maturity came that appreciation as well. Just because I could paint earlier on didn't mean that I had that appreciation. So, and everyone's different too. You know, sometimes people say, oh, like I don't have any interest in art. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I'm not offended. Like everyone has their different interests. But yeah, for the most part, people who stand in front of my work, it's incredible to see the like reaction. And that's, I guess, the special part of it.
Well, that's the payoff with that, you know, like you have musicians, and I've come across them. They're musicians, they're talented. When they're so deep into their work, they won't listen to anyone else's work. And I'm like, you know, come on, you have to appreciate other artists because that's what makes you better at your craft. So that's
definitely.
Because you get to see different things. So now,
100%.
What are you working on now that you can share with the world?
So I have a few massive projects coming up next year that I can't really disclose anything about, but there's, so pretty exciting projects coming up. I'm just basically just doubling down and going bigger and better. Okay. So that's exciting, and you'll see that sort of come to fruition early next year, mid next year. And then, of course, I sometimes still do have a few canvases. I try to keep some downtime in between my massive projects to give my body and my mind a rest. So, doing a piece of Elvis behind me and a piece of The Rock. And I do have a massive Kobe Bryant piece to the right of me. I haven't painted him since his passing. I just feel like it wasn't the right time. I have painted him previously, but since he passed, I haven't painted him again. So I'm struggling to sort of get through this piece, and it's been very slow. but I'll just chip away at it when I feel like it, when I'm inspired. So
well, that's being an artist, when the inspiration hits you is when you have to do it, because I paint, but for me to do it, I need to be motivated. Something has to
send
hit
me
me.
your paintings. I got to see your work.
Oh Lord, yeah. I don't know. That's in storage. You have to wait a little while. But
I'll be hitting you up after this to send them through.
But when you do this stuff, it's not on demand. It's just it happens. You'll wake up in the morning, maybe 2:00 in the morning, like something hits you, and then you're painting till 2:00 the next morning. That's how it is. That's how it is with what you're doing, and I know that. And that's why when you did the rock, you did DJ. Now, when you did that work, when you met him with the work, and these are the important questions here, right? Now, when you presented him with that, how was that feeling for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Not as a fan, but as an artist,
Yeah, as an artist. Yeah, I guess I wasn't real. Like, I obviously knew who DJ was, and I knew, he'd been around for many years. So I wasn't a fan of him though. So I think it was me approaching him as an artist from the get-go, which is good. And I feel like I could really take in those moments and just it put things in concrete for me, that because I had some doubts, obviously, am I going to do this as a living? Is this my forever? I'm currently studying health sciences and I want to be a food scientist. So meeting him as an artist and him saying essentially that I'd be silly not to pursue it was, it's something that I probably needed. And if I was a fan, I probably would have been blinded by these words and perhaps not made the most of this. And I was young and I say that, if I was to meet him now, I'd probably have a million things going on in my mind and that'd affect, me as a person meeting him, and I'd be nervous and not thinking straight. So I was a little bit young and carefree back then. And I guess the more I got to, I knew who Dwayne Johnson was, but I didn't know a lot about his story and his background when I initially met him and got in contact with him. So obviously over the years, I've learned to respect him even more. And grown to just realize that he's the most incredible and genuine human on the planet. So
yeah, he is. DJ's a good guy. He always has been.
Yeah, always crazy.
And it's good that happened when you were younger, because you didn't know any better. And I think that's when the magic happens, because it's like you mentioned the Yankees. Okay, there's a movie. For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner, where you had
I've seen that. Yeah,
you still when the batter went up, he was a rookie. He didn't really know Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner said, "All right, you don't fear me. That means you're going to go for the fences," and that's exactly what the kid was doing. He didn't know any better, so he had no fear. So with you didn't know him, so it was like, okay, it was more of an affirmation of the work that you've done.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why it happened too. Like sometimes when you chase things, you can manifest things and whatnot. But I think sometimes when you chase things and you're like, obsessed with this idea and perhaps don't focus on other things, and these things don't happen. So that's why I believe, everything happens for a reason, and the way that it sort of happened naturally and not forced, it was, sort of, I guess, a testament to what I just said before. So definitely.
But you've presented him with your work, but you also presented Arnold Schwarzenegger, and everyone knows Arnold. I mean, you hear the name Arnold, you know who it is. It doesn't matter. You can have a million Arnolds in the world. There's only one Arnold. I don't know why people even use the name. Don't name your kid Arnold. It doesn't work. But
there's no second Arnold.
There's no second Arnold. I don't know. But when you did, I think you did 2 pieces for him. I think you did two. Yeah, you did 2 pieces. So when you first did that first piece, was that something that he wanted? Is that something that you did on your own? How did that come about?
The first piece that I did that how we met basically was at a live the Arnold Expo. I think they probably have that in the US. I'm not sure where they host it.
Yeah, in Ohio.
Yeah, there we go. Yep. So we had that in Australia, in Melbourne, and I was painting a live painting. I was for a sports brand, and I was painting him live, and then he came through. And I mean, I think he'd be pretty aware of his images from back in his bodybuilding days, and I'd actually converted a black and white image into color live just by eye. So, whether he knew that or not, he was pretty taken back by it, and he actually
Hold
asked
up.
on the spot.
Wait. You did this just by eye? You looked at and you just did it by eye live in front of thousands of people?
Yes, yeah.
No pressure, right? No pressure. But Arnold looking over your shoulder saying, interesting.
And I hadn't done it before either, so it was a bit of a I guess one of those things that probably better just doing on the spot and learning as you go.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Yeah, so that, he came through and he obviously was, I think, quite taken back by it. Asked to buy it, I think, on the spot, but the company were actually doing a giveaway of it. So. Anyway, so his assistant got in contact with me straight away, and they asked me if I could do a piece for their charity After School All Stars.
Okay.
And I said yes, and I did that piece. And then a few months later, little did I know, I was walking into his home with my painting like on display, right as you walk into his house.
That's awesome. I mean, see stuff like that. These are stories people can't even think or fathom to say, hey, this can happen to me, but this is stuff that has happened to you. And, and you have much more going on in your life, and you have your future in art. I'm saying this now on this show for everyone to listen to, you're amazing because look, and to be honest, look, we had some difficulties with the show earlier on. That was my fault. But
I think it's hard when you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
so definitely no one's fault here.
No, but I'm just
and it's a crazy time now.
It is, but it was your level of patience and everything that made me say, hey, you know what? Exactly what I thought about you. I was right on the money, and your future as an artist is just going to get greater and greater and greater. This I do know, because you're going to get better and better, and you're going to evolve in the work that you do. And it's just inevitable, and it happens with great artists. They do it. And all of a sudden you're creating magic when you look 5 years before. Wow, I never thought I was going to do that. And all of a sudden, your paintings are selling for $gazillion and stuff like that. And you're sought after, but I think that, having your art outlive you, in life, I think that is probably the greatest gift that anyone can leave behind, whether you're an artist, a singer, an actor, or a sports legend, something that you leave behind because you do these great things. And I think that's what you're doing too.
Thank you. You know what? I haven't even thought of it like that. I always sort of mention, I'm like, artists, like, they for the most part, artists only make their money when they're gone. Mm-hmm. So I always, sort of touch on that, but I've never really thought of it like that when I am gone, like they still live on and whatnot. So really cool.
These are going to be the stories that people are going to talk about, and they're going to look at your work, whether it's on a building, whether it's here, whether it's there. As in the next 10 years, the work that you're doing today is going to be like, wow, that's good, but wow, look at this now. And it's just going to get better, and that's the way it is. But here goes another thing. You're also involved in fitness, right?
Yes, I do.
This is now we're getting to the meat of it all.
Exercising. So yeah.
So you've been training for a little bit. You don't compete though, or do you?
No, I don't compete. No, I think and I say this now. I think doing murals on the scale that I do is literally like a sport in itself. So I think I do look after my body and my mind and my health and my fitness to be able to work the hours that I do. So I probably, look, I absolutely love sport and I'd love to compete, and I do have like a fierce fire burning inside me that, I know that anything I do that I'll be very competitive at. Oh, yeah. But I try not to which I have in the past, push the limits too much anymore, and just do what I can. So yeah.
Well,
just sort of just regular training and keeping fit.
Yeah, so, you get involved in that scene, then you're gonna scare people. you walk around with trophies and crowns.
I think I'd scare myself. So
you may. But I think it's important for people, anyone that is doing anything in life, to embrace fitness, embrace health, because that's what gives you the best quality of life at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Especially what you're doing. It's people don't realize it, but when you have an assignment, sometimes it's timed where you got to get it done in this amount of time. So now it becomes stressful too. If you're not fit, you can't deal with the stress.
Can't keep up. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it all affects, like, you know, you fit, how you're feeling affects your mind, and your mind affects your body as well. So it's all relevant. And that's why, you know, and it's interesting you say that, because, you know, the last 2 weeks I've had this massive project, and I only was able to fit like 2 workouts in, and I was working my body out every day. Like, I was working 16-hour days, you know, it was up and down, like physically demanding. But at the end of it, I was incredibly anxious. And I was like, you know what? Like, I actually think this is because I haven't been, you know, like, obviously painting, I've released a lot of endorphins through that, but I think exercise is another part of your brain. And I put it down to that. I'm like, I'm seeing this anxiety again. So I've done two workouts back to back this week, gotten out for walks. And I'm feeling great again. So very, very interesting. At least as long as you're aware of that and you're aware of your body and what affects.
Well, you know what it is. See, you're like me. See, if I don't train, I start getting anxious. So when I do train, it's interesting. Sometimes you have epiphanies. You start thinking about things you need to do, and you have this certain clarity. And you're like, wow. You know, you wouldn't be able to think that clearly if you weren't working out or you weren't pushing yourself a little bit. You know, and you probably get that with your artwork too. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it instills like a discipline in you. If you can sort of commit to something like that, that's helping bettering yourself, you can sort of apply that to other things in life as well. So
yeah, and I think that's a great thing. And if you, with the fitness and the art and doing what you're doing, as I said, I think you're destined for greatness. You know, and I'm calling it. I'm calling it now. Because what you've done now is nothing compared to what you're going to do later on. And I know one thing, like right now, because the time is being cut short for the show. Don't cry, audience, and everything. Don't worry. You know, but we're going to have Danielle back on at and after the holidays and everything, because we're going to be able to talk about the projects that you have lined up, that you're going to be doing, those massive projects.
Hopefully be able to tell you more about them. So
well, we're going to show pictures on the show and everything so that we can talk about it. You know, but I wanted to, you know, kind of put the spotlight on you, because I think it's important for people out there to know who you are, because I know where you're going to wind up being later on. So I got to catch you now, because later on you're going to say, Lou, who? You don't bother me, you know.
I hope so, but no, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
I'll always be around.
yeah, but you know, you're gonna be doing some amazing things still, and I do appreciate you and the work that you do, and we're gonna bring you on again. We're going to bring you on again.
I'm excited.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about some other stuff, and we're going to show you art and everything, and we're going to impress people. They're going to fall on the floor. They're not going to believe it, how things are going to be. But I'm pretty sure you're probably not going to do a Trump painting anytime soon. So we'll.
No. I'll abort that mission before it's even started. So.
Nice. You know,
I won't touch anything politics in America. I don't think. I'll stay away from it. Ours are just as bad here, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, you need to, stick with what you're doing and tell stories through your art. And that's what you're doing. Now, what I want you to do, if you can, just let the viewers and the listeners know how to learn more about you. I can give the website, but I want you to do it, because they'll appreciate your voice better than mine.
Oh, bless. Thank you. So www.daniellesartwork.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, and that's Danielle's Artwork as well. So, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Most of my things are on there.
I
pop up in a few other places, but yeah.
But that's where they can find the media stuff. And I do implore the viewers and listeners, follow Danielle Weber, what she's doing, her artwork and her career, because you're going to be amazed and you're going to see the growth. And Danielle, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being so patient with me today.
No, that's fine. It was nothing, honestly. Thank you.
No, thank you. And thank you for coming on. And we're going to have you on again. Okay. So again, for listeners out there, follow Danielle Weber, check out her work, and we'll be back with you for the next segment of the UCW Radio Show.
Amazing. Right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Hang on. I'm going
Initiating shutdown sequence.
You're listening to UCW Radio in your face.
What is your major malfunction?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.